Hello and welcome to the Post to Post Podcast, episode 103 for Sunday, March 15th. I'm Jason, that's Neil as normal.
Hello.
We've been sitting here for about 20 minutes trying to think of what we're going to talk about this time.
Like pretty much not an exaggeration. We've been sitting here trying to figure out how to start this, how to end this, what to plump this podcast up with, because we did do the bonus podcast on Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever the day that was, episode 102. And we had the majority of the conversation that we should have had in this podcast, but we wanted to have it early because it was breaking news.
Yep.
We wanted to get our opinions out there because lots of people were asking. And since then, there's really only been one thing that's happened involving the NHL from then until now. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. But other than that, there's no
news. There's not really anything to talk about. There's nothing. Like, literally nothing.
So
I mean, you get all your regular sports shows. They're starting to play highlights from past seasons and stuff like that. Like, they're just trying to fill with what they can.
And I think people are kind of disengaging from sports in general. Like, we're not going to get as many views because people just...
There's more important things going on right now.
Yeah, there's more important things.
If we go back to last Sunday, a week ago from now, the world's a different place now than it was last Sunday.
Absolutely.
Which we never seen coming because it's exploded.
And the world... last Sunday was different than the Sunday before that.
That's right.
And so next Sunday is going to be even more different.
I mean, from our point of view, like in Canada, you've got the government telling everyone that's abroad right now to get home while they can, which, as Neil was saying, I think in the bonus episode we had on Thursday, it sounds like the border between Canada and the States is going to be closed. It sounds like the border between Canada and everywhere is going to be closed.
Yeah.
I think a lockdown is eventually coming here.
I heard this week.
I heard Monday.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Don't take your news from a couple guys like us. If you want to be informed, actually go look at the reputable sites. But we'll just tell you what we've heard, and you can verify that with the proper third parties. But
which is quite an amazing thing to happen in history. Like there was 9/11, which I think everyone who is conscious during that time will remember for the rest of their life. They can tell you where they were, and right now we are living in history. There will be movies made about this time in history, and we are currently living it. Mm-hmm. And 20 years from now, when someone says, do you know what you were doing in life or whatever when the coronavirus hit? Yeah. Like, this is something that we'll never forget.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
So you've got the people in charge of the WHO who are in charge of like the disease and stuff like that. They're saying that, the lockdowns are important, but social distancing, which is the term that's everyone's using now, is actually way more important than the lockdowns because, the government can tell you you can't do this, or we're going to close schools, or we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But if you're not making an active choice to put yourself in a good place, then you're not really helping the situation out or yourself.
Right.
So when they tell you to stay home, when they tell you to do whatever, if you can, you really should. Like, don't be going out to restaurants to eat. Don't be going out and celebrating birthdays. Like, for now, just keep it low key. Like, stay home with your family. Stay home, like... You know what I mean?
And it's small things like that. Like you just mentioned a birthday. Instead of going out to a restaurant to have a birthday party, have it at home instead. Mm-hmm. And maybe if you were going to invite 20 people, invite 10.
Yeah, like last night we had one of our good friends over and we played some board games down here on the podcast table. So this entire podcast table was just covered with board game stuff.
Literally.
So, but he has 2 daughters and they were supposed to have play dates with other families that day and they end up canceling them because they're, nervous about...
Yeah, and even like things going to the movies. Cineplex, I'm not sure which movie company or theaters or where you are, but here it's Cineplex, and they announced yesterday, I believe, that they are only allowing 50% capacity in every movie, and I probably assume that eventually they'll just not let anyone.
I would highly advise don't go to a movie right now.
Yeah, so that's an example of social distancing.
Mm-hmm. Like just look at the countries that are hardest hit right now. And just think, if we don't, as a big group of people, I guess, change the way we're doing things, like if we just treat it as whatever, we'll be fine. Then that could be what you're seeing in those countries. We could be seeing in our countries.
Absolutely.
So it's really on the public to take charge of this. Like the government can only do so much. So it sucks for the next X amount of weeks or months or however long. Life's going to get a little more boring, but at least when you come out of it, you won't be contributing to it, I guess, and putting the at-risk people more at risk.
Yeah, we're overreacting or taking the major steps now, so in the future we can look back and be like, okay, well, nothing. We're okay now, but that's probably because we overreacted then or took the appropriate steps then. If we hadn't have, we might be in like utter disarray. Every country.
I looked at a tweet from Pierre LeBrun where he was retweeting one of the guys that was in charge of the pandemic, and he was saying that, well, he's in charge of the WHO. He's not in charge of spreading it, but he said, speed is the most important thing when it comes to trying to reduce the amount of impact this has. He says, if you wait for a perfect solution, you're screwed.
Yeah, everyone's afraid to make mistakes.
He said you're afraid to make mistakes. If you're afraid to make mistakes, you've already lost, basically. So it's not about spending this time and doing a study and finding out what's the best way to do it and then trying to deal with it. It's speed. So right away, so if you have the option tomorrow to stop doing something you're doing that could potentially, even though you think it's not a big deal, be contributing, then just stop doing it. And that's the biggest thing that can happen right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I just want to address one thing real quick. A lot of people have been asking me, is Brent still going to go on his trip to Florida? Because he mentioned that in a couple of recent videos. No, he's not. He canceled his trip, so the goat should be okay. He's not going to travel. He's going to stay in PEI.
And my parents, and they have a bunch of friends, and my aunt and uncles, they had a 12-person trip to Costa Rica planned. It's been planned for 4 years. Wow. And I'm like, you are not going to Costa Rica anymore. And they're realizing that trip is done now.
When were they supposed to go?
They were supposed to leave in the end of April.
Yeah.
So my dad's like, well, maybe we'll wait till the 1st April to see if this is under control. I was like, there is no way that in 2 weeks this is going to be under control. This is still going to be getting worse in 2 weeks.
Absolutely. And 2 weeks from there, it'll be even more worse.
Yeah.
They say it's something that's going to come back every year. We're not going to just eliminate it entirely until we have a proper vaccine. And the vaccine is probably not going to come for another year or so. So they said that next winter, we're going to see the coronavirus kind of pick up again, but obviously not as bad as right now, since people will have developed an immunity to that specific strain. So one of I guess it's my uncle's friend who's going on this trip with my parents. So they emailed Air Canada about their flights saying, listen, government's saying not to travel anymore. We're probably not going on this trip. What's the deal with our flights? So they said, well, we'll give you a voucher, but you have to fly to the same place and you have to do it within 6 months. I got an email from Air Canada saying that I can cancel my flight, but I only get a voucher and I have to travel and use that voucher before December 31st of this year.
That's basically what they got too.
Yeah.
6 months from, I guess it's a little more than 6 months. 6 months from when they were going to fly. Which is pretty much useless.
I mean, it's useless because in 6 months from now, we're probably still not going to be able to travel.
Yeah,
So I'm hoping that they're going to adjust that clause or whatever you want to call it, disclaimer, to extend it beyond this year because everyone's going to need it.
I mean, especially if they do shut the borders. If they shut the borders, they can't just be like, oh, well, we'll give you a voucher for 6 months from now.
Yeah,
no, I want a refund, or I want to go a year from now, or whatever, you know, right? I don't know. It sucks for the airlines too. I mean, you look at WestJet. WestJet's getting hammered. They're shutting tons of their flights down. It's going to impact everyone. We talked about this in our last podcast. Yeah. The financial impact is going to be massive.
I'm surprised gas is way down because usually during a crisis, gas goes way up.
Nobody's doing anything. They're all staying home.
Yeah.
So it's good that gas is going down in a way. Sucks for Alberta and Canada, but it's good as if it's reflective on saying that, hey, people aren't traveling as much now.
Gas was 77.6 in Airdrie, Alberta today.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy low.
It's ridiculous.
I wonder if that's a normal price for Americans. Times that by 4 for your gallon.
I'm not sure.
$3 a gallon. Is that good? Because
it's 98 here, isn't it?
Here it's 98 right now, which is decent.
Well, let's see, yesterday. I don't know what it is today.
It's decent. Under $1? Heck yeah, I'll take under $1.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't have said that, 20 years ago. I'd be like, holy crap.
Yeah, back in 2004, 2005, when it got up to 120.
I remember when I was 16 or 17, I had a four-wheeler, and gas was 56 cents a liter. So you'd go to take the four-wheeler, get gas up, it cost you $6 to fill it up.
That's amazing.
So anyway.
Yeah. I remember being with Dad. We were somewhere in New Brunswick traveling, and we stopped, and we got gas. It was 63 cents or something like that, and then we were like, holy crap, this is incredible.
I remember there was one time we went to PEI, and PEI's gas was way more expensive than anywhere else. It was 79 cents a liter, and it was just what the frig is... This is back when it was 60 cents in New Brunswick. What's going on over here?
Yeah.
And now it's man, I would kill someone to pay for that kind of gas prices.
Exactly. Yeah. Usually it's around high 20s here, high 120s.
Yeah, it's $1.20, $1.18, $1.15. It's not that great. Yeah. So anyway, speaking of not that great, Calgary Flames ownership
they're getting a lot of heat, and it's not just them; it's some other franchises as well.
Boston, not surprisingly. The Jacobs family is not.
So there's a decision being made by franchises or owners and players to compensate. Like Bobrovsky donated like $100,000.
Yeah, like we've got 3 players on Calgary, like Lucic and a couple others have been donating money, even though they have some of the richest owners in Canada.
Yeah, they make low millions, and their owner makes billions.
And this is what people are saying on Twitter. So whenever you choose to side between a player and a corporation or an owner, this is the kind of stuff you're looking at. You got an owner with way, 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 way more money than the players, but it was the players, at least at first, that were stepping up.
Yeah, and I understand from a business perspective of not paying people who aren't working. That doesn't make sense from a business standpoint.
But it's not.
But it doesn't mean it's the right decision.
Yeah, like this is not necessarily about business. It's a humanitarian thing.
Exactly,
like you look after those people, and then they'll be there on the other side when you come out of it.
These people are there working for your organization and probably work very hard. And you can't come to them when they need your help the most. I mean, that's low class.
You've got people like Mark Cuban, who we talked about on the last podcast, Dallas Mavericks owner. He's on Shark Tank. He's already come out and said that all these employees won't have to worry about losing money, and he's also coming out with food plans and meal plans to get food out to people. Like,
and I believe he came out with that over a week ago.
Yeah,
before it got crazy.
That was as soon as this went down. That's what he's focusing on now.
So,
and then you've got people like Jeremy Jacobs and his family who own Boston, and you got the guys in Calgary, and it's just like, we'll pay you for the one game that was supposed to happen on the weekend, and then after that, you're on your own.
I think, number one, they're doing the wrong thing, in my opinion. Number two, they're setting a bad precedent for other companies outside of sports. Not everyone works in the sports world. Some people work for banks or work for call centers or work for whatever. If those companies see big companies like the Calgary Flames or whatever not paying their employees, then they may be like, okay, well, they're not paying, so maybe we shouldn't pay. But if everybody out there was announcing that they were paying their employees, they'd kind of, you know what I mean? Like they had Calgary setting a bad example for other companies and franchises out there.
And that's another reason why I like what Mark Cuban did, because someone on Twitter put a thing out saying that, it's not the big corporations we need to worry about right now. It's the small guys.
Yeah,
small
absolutely.
businesses. And he said, so what our company is doing, this was just some random guy on Twitter. He said, what our company is doing is we're going to focus on buying our stuff from the small guy right now. Like not the Walmarts and, the big distributors and stuff like that. Like just like if it's like local restaurants or local distributors or anything like that, just like small businesses.
Yep.
He said, our company's going to be focused on using these guys to help our employees right now. And then Mark Cuban seen that tweet and he retweeted and said, I am 100% in. And then when he talked about that meal plan, he said that meal plan and all that stuff like that is going to be sourced through local businesses in that city.
That's such an incredible idea.
Yeah, like that's because the big guys are going to be all right. If like, especially like the airlines and stuff like that, like Delta Airlines has already gone to the United States and they're looking for a bailout or like money.
Yeah.
And they'll probably get it because they're one of those companies that are, too big to fail and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So like the big companies, they'll be all right. They'll get some sort of money or they have money put away or they can do stuff. It's the little guys that.
Yeah. And it sucks because once this is all over, prices for things that we already think are too expensive are just going to become more expensive.
Yeah.
Like airline tickets.
Yeah.
And like just general everyday stuff that sometimes you need to do. So
stop freaking out and buying toilet paper, people.
I don't get it. Like I genuinely needed toilet paper Thursday night, and so I went to go get some.
There was none.
There was none. So,
like, I don't know.
I understand preparing, and if you're going to be quarantined for 14 days, fine. Go out and get an extra toilet paper. Don't get 8.
Buy one, like a super pack of 18 rolls. That'll do you for a while.
You don't need 340 rolls of toilet paper.
Yeah, you don't blow your nose through your butt. Like that's just not how it works.
That's true.
And for the most part, people aren't getting runny noses and stuff. It's coughs, it's fevers, it's aches, it's it's breathing, it's chest. It's not like it just doesn't make sense. Like
I don't understand it.
We were in Canadian Tire yesterday, right?
Yes.
There was a pack of 15 Kleenex for $17.99 or something like that.
I
wasn't
think there was only 6 in the 6 boxes.
6 boxes of Kleenex for $17.99.
For $17.
It was like a wrapped up. Yeah, it was like. You're right. It was 6, and they were wrapped up in plastic, and it had $17.99 on it. Yeah. $18 for 6 packs of Kleenex.
At Walmart, those are, I think, $3.99 right now because I was just in Walmart the other day. So Canadian Tire, the fact that you're charging $17, $18 for 6 boxes of Kleenex, you should be ashamed of yourself.
That's brutal.
Disgusting. But, anyways, I don't obviously this isn't going to be a quick solution. It's only going to get worse. A lot of people probably aren't going to be able to go to work. There are already companies in Fredericton, New Brunswick, where we live, who are asking their employees to work from home exclusively and not come into work at all. Mm-hmm. And we're really just at the start. There's only one case in New Brunswick as of yesterday.
There's a second presumptive, it just hasn't been confirmed.
Yes.
And the guy had physical contact with the other woman who was the first one.
Okay.
There's apparently 3 in Nova Scotia now. So
there's one PEI.
As of yesterday, Nova Scotia was clear. As of today, sounds like there's 3. So the only place that's left that hasn't been touched is the territories.
Yeah. So
that's been found anyway.
New Brunswick, I believe, has like 766,000 or 788,000.
Not a lot of people in New Brunswick.
Not a lot of people, but still, that's a lot of people for our region of Canada. Mm-hmm. So 1 or maybe 2, we'll say 2 out of 788,000 people have the coronavirus confirmed. Mm-hmm. And we already see companies starting to ask employees to work from home.
Which is the right call.
It is the right call, and I'm glad it's happening now, but it's only going to get worse.
Mm-hmm. Like the sooner you start putting the extreme measures in, the better everyone is off.
Totally.
It just sucks because it's gonna hit so many people so hard.
Absolutely. I will say one thing though. Did you happen to watch the video that I retweeted? Or I didn't retweet, I tweeted out early yesterday, I think.
What was it about?
It was a husband and a wife. They were English, but they were on the Princess Cruise that was in Japan.
Oh, no.
And they had caught their coronavirus, but he had been filming every day in the hospital with giving updates and stuff. It was like 40 minutes long, fantastic video, very informative. He talks about the symptoms he had. His wife talks about her symptoms. They were a little bit different, but still the same. Mm-hmm. He was worse than her. But he said, and they get tested like 3 or 4 times a day, and there's different tests. There's one they have to go in through the nose and down or whatever. But he said that he was sick for like 6 days, and then he was quarantined, and this was the 14th day of the quarantine, so he was on 20 days, and he was still getting positive results for the coronavirus. And people are saying that the recommendation is quarantine yourself for 14 days. Well, it's been 20 days for him, going on 21. Mm-hmm. And that was 3 days ago, and I just watched one of his most recent videos, and he just got cleared. So he's around 22, 23 days of getting over it. So he thinks, like he said, I don't want to scare anyone, but 14 days isn't enough. Mm-hmm. So we might see that recommendation change where be like, no, we were saying 14 days before, stay home for 14 days, but honestly, stay home for 30. Mm. So I think things are going to get a little bit more serious in that sense as well. So.
And one of the weird things it's kind of weird that New Brunswick is doing is, so tomorrow is Monday. It'll be the first day the schools are canceled across the province.
Right.
But daycares are still being left open because they're considered an essential service. Like they have to have somewhere to send their kids. But I mean, in terms of spreading, like kids are carriers for like all kinds of sickness.
Yeah, and apparently,
and if you have all of these kids that normally would be in school just being now sent to a daycare,
it's like the most infectious place.
I mean, they're not necessarily going to be the ones most at risk, but they're going to be carriers and transmitters of this. So they're going to be going to daycare and then going home and then transferring that sickness to their parents.
Yeah, because they don't necessarily know how to sanitize, and that's not their fault. They're kids. Mm-hmm. So where we can go to work and we can wash our hands and use hand sanitizer when we open doors and all that stuff and be self-aware and self-responsible, kids don't really have that consciousness or awareness. They don't understand the gravity of them not washing their hands or something. So they're just kids, right?
Yeah.
So
what's the proper age you should be to be left home alone? Like 12, 13, 14? Like what? I don't even know.
I think 12.
So let's say I don't even know what grade 12 would be.
I don't know either.
So if you're 17, 18, grade 12, then subtract back. So like, I don't know, like grade 6, grade 7, like once you're in middle school-ish.
I mean, if you can't make a few Pop-Tarts or a bagel or something like that.
So let's just say, not knowing anything because we're just a bunch of dumb guys that don't have kids. Let's just say anybody under grade 6 has to go to a daycare.
Yeah, but if their parents aren't working, then hypothetically they could stay home. But some people don't have that luxury. They have to go to work because their company hasn't closed down yet, or they don't have the ability to be paid at home if they're working hourly yet by the company or the government. They can't claim that yet, so they have to go to work. Mm-hmm. That means they can't take care of the kid, which means their kid has to go to daycare. It's so
it's like you're alleviating it in one situation by closing the schools, but then you're also leaving kind of an avenue open by having all those kids just packed into a daycare somewhere because there's going to be a mass need for people to send their kids somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, the pressure on the government's shoulders there's so many things that they have to do. I can't even imagine, and they don't even do half the crap right in general without the coronavirus. So the fact that this was put on their shoulders.
Like I said off the top, it's important that we, the people, do what we can, because the government's going to try, but there's only so much government can do.
And taxes are going to go up probably after this in Canada, maybe not in the United States, but we're taxed pretty heavily in Canada. It's, like they can't just shell out $6 billion and make sure that everyone is going to be fine. Like, everyone just stay home for 30 days and we'll pay you. That's an egregious amount of money. They can't do that. So they have to take steps. Like maybe the company eats a little bit, they pay half, and the government pays half. I don't think all those things are worked out yet. And that's kind of where we're at now. I don't think anything is official yet, but they're working on it.
Which is why I think the focus on if you work in an office job, if you have a cubicle, those are the types of jobs generally that can be done at home. Like if you work all day on a computer, then maybe you can remote in or VPN to your work and you can just do your stuff like that. And maybe coming out of this, companies are going to realize like, hey, we didn't realize how, maybe advantageous it was, or maybe more productive it is for certain of our employees to be able to work from home. Yes. And maybe that becomes a more permanent option as people can spend more time at home doing their work.
Like as bad as the coronavirus is, this is enabling a lot of good long-term, I think, from a work perspective and just from a cleanliness perspective. I think we talked about before the last episode 101 of, we're not going to see pump handle soaps anymore or whatever, where it's all going to be automated.
Battery sensors and
And some people made the comments, and I don't know if I misspoke or maybe they just assumed, but Jason does not have the ability to work from home with his job.
Yeah.
I do. So I'm very lucky in that sense, but Jason doesn't.
Like I work on the public and my wife works in the healthcare system. So it's not a great deal in this household. Like
no.
If we're going to get it, we're going to get it. But
and I work for a small company. So I have a few concerns, but I'm very lucky in the sense that I could work from home if I wanted to. But there's people who can't, like you. Mm-hmm. And I feel bad for
there's lots of people that can't, but there is lots of people that can, is what we're just saying. And if, like I said, if you have that cubicle job where you are on a computer for most of your day, companies should really be trying to find a way where they can set you up to be able to work from home.
Yeah, and then it's logistically, like if you work on a call center and the phone line is all split and stuff inside the building, and that is extremely complicated to obviously send someone home. Like I don't even know how to logistically figure that out, and definitely not short term. So it's such a chore. It's not chore, but it's such a job to try and figure out everything. And the NHL is kind of the same way. Like there's so many things that they need to figure out. There's so many contingency plans that they need to make, and they need to look at every single scenario. If the coronavirus levels off on this date, then we have to look at this date to start back of the season.
So Gary Bettman said there is a date of no return.
Of no return? I figured.
He's not telling people what it is, and he says it fluctuates depending on it's a date they've picked, but it's not necessarily engraved in stone, but it's around that date. So maybe it can't go quite that far, or maybe it can go like a week after that.
Yeah.
But they do have a date internally where if we get close to this date and it still doesn't look like anything's happening.
What's that date for you?
I'd have to say late June.
Oh, really? That late? I was thinking like May 15th, May 20th.
No, I think they'll go further than that. I think they do want to try to play in July and maybe early August if they can.
They'll have to shorten the series.
But it sounds like they don't want to do a March Madness style thing. Like it sounds like they want the playoffs to be an actual playoff. At least a best of 3. So even if you shorten it so that, like, even if you had like maybe 8 teams on each side instead of 16, like maybe, I don't know, it's still like, even if you had 3 games per series, that's still going to take a little bit of time, right?
So 4 matchups on each side, 3 games per series.
Mm-hmm. Up to 3, so maybe 2, but
yeah.
And like I said, with the government of Canada telling people to come back now while they can, hinting at the fact that borders may be closing, that has NHL players concerned, like, because the NHL and the NHLPA want them to stay with their team. So if you're an American on a Canadian team right now, or if you were just recently traded we brought up in the last one. You want to go home to your family and you want to be there, but the NHL is still hoping that they're going to be able to get some practicing in the coming weeks.
Yeah.
So like if maybe they can't have fans or whatever, but they can still have their group of 20 some players on the ice starting skating drills and stuff like that. If you've traveled back across the border, then
like if
you're going to be quarantined for 2 weeks before you can play with your team.
Exactly.
But it still doesn't make sense because if these restrictions are still in place, so any travel internationally puts in a 14-day quarantine, like you said, it could be longer if they prove that the 14 is not enough. Chances are there's going to be Canadian teams playing American teams. So as soon as you travel to play that game or series, it's an automatic 2 to 3 week wait. Like I said on the very first one, I just don't see how this works.
This season, yeah, I really don't see this season.
Like Gary Bettman's being optimistic,
which is the right attitude to have.
Yes, but like it would have to be Neil's idea where you pick a neutral place and all the teams go and they are in a bubble and they're locked down.
It's the only
and they
way.
all play at that one venue. So like this game plays right after that game's over. Another 2 teams play. Maybe you play 3 games a day, and that one venue hosts it all. Because I mean, you can't have border travel between teams slowing things down by 2 or 3 weeks. Like there's just not enough time for that.
And it gets complicated again, where maybe the Calgary Flames make the playoffs if it happens, and they have an injury. So maybe someone gets injured, and they have to call someone up from the Stockton Heat. Well, guess what? Stockton is in California, in the United States. If the tournament's happening in Canada, hypothetically, because it's less populated, then can that player be actually called up? And if he does get called
that's
up,
another thing
to go back.
I never thought about player injuries. They definitely have to look in that and have contingency plans.
They probably, if they were doing the quarantine thing, they'd probably have to have an extra roster of 10 called up from wherever, just sitting on the sidelines waiting for. It sounds crazy, but waiting for injuries to happen. And I don't know what they're going to do with the emergency goalie situation. I mean,
Jeff Merrick was asking Gary Bettman, like, what do your days look like now? He's just like meetings. Like, I don't have any free time.
Yeah, he said he had 15 minutes of free time the other day. And he said he just sat there and just got sad.
Yeah. Like it's what are we going to do with this? What's this contingency if we do this? What happens if this? And I think it is, if things do come back, which I can't see it, but if they do, I think it's all going to be back at the same time. So like NHL, NBA, I think they're all getting the same memo from the same people. So when it's good for one, it's going to be good for the other. I was reading today that the AHL may not be so lucky because there's like more travel and there's not as much money. And so it's going to be really expensive for the AHL to resume business. So things might not work out. So we may be seeing an AHL cancellation coming. We just seen the ECHL cancellation yesterday.
Yep.
So they were on pause as well. And then yesterday they released information saying that we're done.
And there's some leagues around Europe officially canceling.
The ECHL players are not being paid now that the season's canceled. So that sucks. The NHL does. One thing we weren't sure last time was about how NHL players get paid. We can confirm that the NHL players are getting paid. They have 3 more paychecks left. They are going to get nailed in escrow at the end of the year because clearly with them making half of theirs and the owner's money going down with no games being played, the balance will be off. So they're going to end up paying a lot of that money back.
From my understanding, they're getting those last 3 paychecks up front right now.
Yeah, and the NHL is also being told or telling their teams that they have to pay their AHL affiliates. So those guys don't have escrow, so they're going to be paid regularly, which is the right thing to do because those guys don't make a lot of money. They're, I think average salary in the AHL is $40 to $70K. So I mean, it's not nothing, but
you have to do it. It's the right decision.
You have to do it, yeah.
It's the right decision.
Unfortunately, ECHL guys are not getting paid. There's GoFundMes and stuff set up, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, everyone's going to be hit hard. Like,
it's going to be
hard to raise money in situations like this when everyone else is already pinching their pennies.
Yeah. I mean, we're so used to things coming and then blowing over, or if it's a big scenario, like it's a South Korea threatens the United States to launch a nuke or whatever, and then that's on the news
North
for
Korea,
a week. Or no, what I say, South Korea?
South Korea.
North Korea. For it's on the news for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then it blows over. This isn't something that's going to last 2 or 3 weeks. It's hard to think long term. Like, we're going to be dealing with this issue for the next 10 months, probably, at least.
Yep.
It's hard to think that long term and realize how much life is going to change, and it's going to change for literally everyone. It's crazy.
I just can't. I just keep thinking back to our episode 101 where I said, I just want to get this coronavirus talk out early so I can look back on it and see how naive we were. I even said the word naive.
Yeah.
And here we are a week later and it's like borders are closing.
That was a week ago.
It's unbelievable.
That was only a week ago.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's crazy. As far as this podcast goes,
so
we don't want to stop it. And I think we said that we're not going to stop it.
No.
But there's nothing to talk about.
No. So one thing we're not going to do is come on here every week and have the same conversation over and over
which
again.
we're kind of already having right now.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about a little bit different stuff, but for the most part, it's very similar to the last one. We're not going to come on and talk about coronavirus for 45 minutes or an hour every episode. So if there's a development or if there's something that happens, we'll talk about it. But, we may have to switch to the more casual Having a Yak podcast and just talk about random stuff. Maybe we can talk about coronavirus and that, or maybe we can talk about what's going on or just have fun or...
Yeah, I think we just maybe have some fun and talk about...
The world needs some fun right now.
We can talk a little bit about the coronavirus. I don't want it to become the coronavirus podcast.
The coronavirus podcast.
Yeah, I think some fun would be okay. Maybe tell some stories or something, and just have some fun. And I don't know how frequently we can do that and stuff, but we'll try and do it as frequently as possible. And if you don't know what Having a Yak is, it's kind of the second podcast that I started with Dad, and
we have
had 4 or 5 guests, I think, on.
We have a system set up now.
We do have a system. Well, it's not entirely set up, but we have the ability.
We have it here. We haven't tested it. We haven't even tried it, actually.
Yeah.
So we have he had an extra computer sitting in his room for a long time. And one of the things we even mentioned when we first came down to this new studio and started building this desk was we wanted to have the ability to have guests on.
Yeah.
So we now have the computer that we can route a call through, in theory, route it through the mixer and then put some headphones on and we can have a conversation with people call in on the fly.
Absolutely.
So we might be able to do some of that with maybe your dad can guest. We can check in PEI, see how things are going in down there.
Yeah, and people can call in for wherever. We can check with T-Park in Texas and Mika in Finland and Joey in Maine and all over the place.
That gives us an option. If you're on YouTube or you want to write us an email or something, just let us know what you want to see. Like let us know how things are going in your part of the woods. Just say, obviously we could use some entertainment. People could use cheering up. So just throw some ideas our way. What kind of stuff would you like to see while this is going on?
Yeah, leave some suggestions down below in the comment section. Obviously, if you're an audio listener, then you can't do that. But if you want to jump on YouTube and leave a comment and with some suggestions, that would be pretty cool. One thing that we talked about or just mentioned quickly yesterday, I think something I'd really like to do is start live streaming. GeoGuessr. And I don't know if you've even played that game before.
I've never played. I've seen your videos, so I know what it's deal. I would be horrible at it. Someone was like, I think someone on the Discord was like, I'd like to see you play with Jason. It's like, no, you really wouldn't. I could look out my window and be like, Montana?
Well, the thing is, the more you play, the better you get. And I still suck at it. So it would be fun if we played together. And also, even if you weren't contributing because maybe you don't know where it is, you could look at the comments as they're coming in and read them to me. And we can kind of, as a group, as a community, come to a decision on where we think we should guess. I think that would be a lot of fun. And live streaming in general, I think is just different and fun. So maybe we can start doing that every Sunday or something, and that'll be happening on the post productions.
Yeah, and
channel.
maybe we could do a live stream podcast where we just talk to people. Absolutely,
that's 100% a possibility. And that's totally possible. That's a really good idea.
So we'll talk about it off camera, and we'll say maybe not this Sunday coming up, but maybe next Sunday, if coronavirus still has everything shut down and there's not much going on, and there's no update, maybe we'll put out a public time that we're going to live stream on YouTube, and then people can just tune in, and then we'll have our podcast and we'll answer questions from chat, or people can talk, or
totally,
and then maybe you guys can suggest topics to talk about, and we'll talk about them. We'll just hang out.
We can do some fun things like play games and live stream us playing games. Now we don't really play many games, but we could throw on Rocket League or something and have some fun there. But I don't know how enjoyable that would be to watch. But
so one thing I will say is on episode 100 we did have a giveaway. We can talk about that now because the deadline is over.
Oh, see, I don't really know anything about this.
So,
I do, but I don't.
It was an audio-only giveaway. If you would listen to our hints back to episode 94, 92, 93, it was basically like it was 8 or 9 episodes away because I remember it being like 2 months away. Or
we left the odd hint after that as well.
You left in hints like crazy. I couldn't believe it. And then there was even a comment on the public YouTube saying, hey, I thought there was going to be a giveaway in this episode, and we just ignored it. Yeah. And unfortunately, there were people that sent Neil emails to enter the giveaway. Yeah. Those emails do not count because you didn't follow the instructions. And Neil did not forward those emails to me, so he just said there's some that came in. So you had to email the right email, which was in the audio version. So I think there was like 30 some people that submitted into it. So if you are one of those people, you have a 1 in 30 some chance of winning. And so later this week we'll pick a winner and pick the prize, and then we'll announce it.
You didn't say the prize?
I didn't announce anything yet. I just said it would be a jersey.
All right.
Cool. So we'll announce it next podcast, or we'll show you in a video or something. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll obviously.
We haven't picked the winner yet. Like, it technically ends later today, but now that I've said it, and by the time this comes out tonight, the time will be up anyway. So
yeah, and we'll obviously email the person who won as well. And for those of you who don't know, we actually have different emails now. There's not just post-to-post show@gmail.com or whatever that email was. I can't remember anymore. Jason has an email. It's
podcast@posttoppostshow.com.
And mine is productions@posttoppostshow.com.
Yeah, basically just questions for the podcast can come to me. Questions for his YouTube can go to him.
And I unfortunately don't have time to answer every single email, and I do have that as a disclaimer down below in the description. But I'll try to answer every email as quickly as possible, but they kind of pile up. So, I mean, sometimes I'm not able to email someone back for like 4 months. Like, that sounds ridiculous, but sometimes I get 35 emails a day. And if I'm spending 5 minutes on every email writing back, I mean, that adds up. I just don't have that time. So, if I get 35 one day and the next day I get 15, there's 50 emails that I'm... So sometimes it takes months for me to get back, and I apologize for that, but I just don't have... I need a secretary, basically. And it's great. I mean, it's a good problem to have because I love hearing from people, but if I don't write you back, I do apologize. I will eventually, but coming up on the productions channel, the post productions channel, more GeoGuessr with Dad. I think I have 3 or 4, 5 others pre-filmed. I'm going to talk about some rankings of other leagues as far as, you know, which NFL team has the most followers on Twitter and the most subscribers on YouTube and stuff. I think people really enjoyed those other videos I did on the NHL based on the comments. So I'm going to be doing some other sports. I'm going to be ranking some logos, I think, coming up soon. I was supposed to go to PEI next weekend, but it might not actually happen now because of all this coronavirus stuff. And so I was supposed to film quite a bit with Chris. We were supposed to do some food videos. I mean, we can still do the food videos here. And I'll just, you know, if you have any suggestions for my channel, just let me know and stuff. And I'll listen, of course, and try and make as much content as I can because I know people are without sports, so they're looking for a little bit more entertainment, and I'll try and film as much as I can. But otherwise, just spend time with your families and pick up a hobby.
Wash your hands, don't touch your face, stop buying toilet paper.
Yeah, and hand sanitizer.
Let us know if you want to see a live stream. Let us know what to talk about. And just be safe out there. Yeah.
There will be a contest coming up in early April, maybe the first or second week of April, just so you guys know. Can't say anything else.
Vague.
It's going to be a jersey.
All right. So I guess we'll end this one here.
I guess so, yeah.
Like I said, guys, there's just not much going on, and we're not going to... I don't think either one of us are really into filler content. Like...
What's the point?
Yeah, like filler hockey content when nothing's changed and just saying the same things over and over. There's no point in doing that. I don't mind doing Having a Yak. I don't consider that...
No, it's question based.
Yeah, so I don't consider that.
We're not interested enough just to have a conversation.
Yeah, like a lot of shows are like showing highlights and stuff like that. We don't have access to any of that. Like we don't have highlights of stuff. Like
we literally don't have the legal ability to do that.
That's something we can't do. So I mean, if there's stuff to talk about, we'll talk about it. But if there's not, then like I said, we'll go in a different direction until there is something to talk about. And like I said, if you have suggestions for us, just let us know. Like we're all in this together. So if there's stuff that you're interested in, maybe we're interested in, and like I said, maybe we'll do that live stream, maybe we won't. See if people are interested in that, and
sounds good.
All right, Neil.
Oh yeah,
Close her off.
Thanks, guys, for listening, watching. Appreciate it. If you're listening on iTunes, we love it. If you could leave us a review of the podcast, that really helps us a lot. And also, if you are a video viewer and you do have access to a podcasting app or something, if you want to download our podcast anyways and help us with our numbers, that definitely really helps a lot and helps us with future sponsorships and stuff. And if you're watching on the YouTube side of things, we can hope you can hit the subscribe button down below, hit the like button, share it around with some friends, and yeah, just stay safe out there and wash your hands. Use hand sanitizer. Don't touch your face. And
stop buying toilet paper.
Like Jason said, stop buying toilet paper. So we'll catch you guys in the next episode, which might be next Sunday, but we don't know.
It should be next Sunday.
Follow me on Twitter at Post to Post Show for updates, if you don't have Twitter or if you don't follow me already. All right. Have a good rest of your weekend and be safe this week. Adios.